Hey, everybody, welcome back to Feasibility Friday, my favorite time of the week. Today, we're going to have a look at the Westcourt Orlando project. We've spoken about it a little bit on LinkedIn. Quite excited about this project, it's huge. Um, and we're not going to do a long one today, we're only going to do about 15-20 minutes. I want to keep it focused so this video is useful not just for the live stream, but for anyone else who wants to come in and look at it. Today, we're going to talk about a bit of housekeeping, actually. Instead of talking about the specific deal, I want to talk firstly about how we set up our workspace environment to be a market portal. And what we're going to see here over the next few sessions is that our intelligence about Orlando is going to grow. So we've already done a couple of great feasibilities. We're going to do one today, albeit a short one. But ultimately, we want this to be a database that grows over time. And as we're doing each one of these feasibilities, we want to be able to see them in a really nice portal. So first thing I'm going to do is just change my workspace. Change my workspace to my Giraffe City account. And Giraffe City is a platform or a concept that we've been talking about for a while. That's really just a local database. I called my workspace Giraffe City. You can see it up here, and here we are on the tabs on this particular project. So as I start working across Orlando, all my projects are going to be measured and tracked. Now, let's hit the logo here on the top left-hand side, and I want to set up my workspace so that it is somewhat intelligent. And when I'm doing feasibility studies, the context in which I'm working in, which is the city of Orlando, has lots of different components of policy, constraints by environment. That research can be really painful. So we want to try and consolidate as much of that research as we can at the outset. So let's do that. First thing I'm going to do is add some data layers. I'm going to hit add data layer over here on the left-hand side. I'm going to add in the data layers that are the most frustrating for me to go and research. And I've done some of this already, or we've made some parcels, some data from City of Orlando available already. But I'm actually going to show you how to do it from scratch. Already in Giraffe, we have some great environmental constraint data. So in Florida, wetlands is a big deal. I'll just type wetlands into the data layer library, and I'm going to add that one to my project. Same with floodplain. And where is 2024 flood? It's in here somewhere. There it is. What else do we normally look at? Contours, not so much of a big deal in Florida, but it's helpful, particularly if we're going to end up grading a site. And then obviously parcel zoning, future land use. Parcel zoning and future land use we're going to go get from Orange County or City of Orlando. So now that I've added those data layers in, they're going to start coming in. I can turn them on and off. And let's pop over now to City of Orlando's GIS system. And I'm just going to open that up in my browser here and switch tabs. You should be able to see City of Orlando's Open Data Hub. And City of Orlando is fantastic. They do a great job of organizing not just City of Orlando, but Orange County's data. And I'm going to just click on one of these data sets. You can see it takes us to an Orlando portal. Click on any one of the data sets that's interesting to me. And I want to show you here how that process of research that generally speaking involves us clicking on 4 or 5 different systems, we can consolidate into one place in Giraffe. So I'm just going to pop over, and you can see I popped over here. We've got this Orlando existing land use layer. And I'm going to go view data source. And when I do that, it goes through to the actual data source structure. I want to get this existing land use feature server into Giraffe. So all I do is copy the URL, go back to Giraffe, and I'm going to open a data layer here. I'll say create a new data layer, Esri map server or feature server, and we'll drop that URL in. So let's drop that in now. Now, as that's loading up, you can see it's bringing in the name of the layer and all those points. And the beautiful thing about those points, because they're a feature server, they're now available for me to look at and to use as a data source that we can filter with. So we'll come back to that in a minute. So existing existing land use is now done. Let's go back to this tab and we'll open up services here and we'll see, the bike trail plan, for instance, is a great data set. There's a couple of different zoning data sets. There's future land use. Let's grab that one. Again, I'm going to copy, go back to Giraffe, add data layer, create your own feature server, drop it in. And then that one will start loading up, which is just incredible. And you see, this is actually a good opportunity just to talk about what we can do here. So I'll close this down. See how the future land use containers are blank and the feature server styling it as blue. I actually want to color the land use polygon by its land use type. So I'm just going to click this little guy down here and we'll say color each polygon by its land use type. And now we have a nice visual cue of where things are up to. I could also add a label, but then it'll start being a bit unwieldy. So I'm just going to save that. I may make it like slightly opaque. I think that might be a little easier to work with. And then let's publish it. So we'll save that. So now we've got existing land use, future land use. Now what we need is parcels and zoning. So let's drop that down, go back to here, and we'll go to services. Let's see if we have parcels. Nope, we might need that from Orange County. What else are we looking for? Zoning, we definitely want. Okay, here it is. Again, we'll copy that feature server out. We'll go back to Giraffe, add data layer, create new layer, Esri, add it in. There it is. The same thing's going to happen. We're going to get all these polygons and we can color the polygons by zoning. I'm actually going to leave this one gray. Otherwise, I think we'll have too many colors overlapping. So we'll add that in. And what we're doing right now is we're just adding layers to our layer library. And I'm going to go back in a minute and add it to my home screen, which is where we see all of our projects. And then the last thing we want is parcels. And we're going to get this from Orange County's interactive mapping system. And we'll go, and they actually, Orange County do a great job of also publishing utility information, which if you're doing industrial or you're doing data centers, then that's a huge, absolutely vital one. So we'll go parcels. I'm just going to search for it. You can see FEMA flood already coming in. We've got it nationally, so we're not too worried about it. Tax deed sales and land sale. I mean, when you start diving into all this public data, it's an incredible amount of data that you can use. We may actually go to Orlando and see if we can find a parcel layer here. Property boundaries, often it's called. Or we'll try parcel. Okay, so here's an interesting one. So the parcel boundaries I know is available, but is a tricky one to find. So what do we do in this situation? Because obviously the asset that we all buy and sell are parcels. What I'm going to do here actually is add in Regrid. Regrid is a data set you can buy through Giraffe. And if you have your own parcel data set, you can add it in. But Regrid is a nationwide parcel tax ownership and zoning aggregator, and they're fantastic. So I like to have all of these on because, oftentimes we want to validate the information we have is right, true, and correct. And so I'm going to bring them all into the browser as we set up this single source of truth. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 layers here that I want to now put on my home screen. So let's go home screen and we'll go back to adding in our data layers. So we'll say flood, or 2024 flood we wanted. We want 2024 wetlands. We want contours. Now there's a contours layer on here that's 3-foot elevation. That's the one we want. And then I want these layers I just uploaded. So I'm going to filter for, can we filter for who uploaded them? Oh, here they are. They're all right there. So we'll just go boom, 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 the 3 that I just uploaded. So that's going to add in about 5 or 6 layers. And now we've got this beautiful single source of truth for not only my research, but my projects. So in the last 10 minutes, let's talk about the projects that we're looking at and how we want to organize those projects. You can see down here, I've actually only got one project, which is the West Court deal that we're going to talk about at the end. But it's got all these fields that I don't particularly care about. They're not very helpful. They're more describing to me, some things like, is it in feet or meters? Does it have a boundary? No boundary? When was it created? Helpful, but not that helpful, really. So let's dive. Oh, I apologize. I was just not showing giraffe. Now we're back in giraffe. You can see this is all the GIS layers I brought in. And this is the project. And these are all the fields that we're tracking against that project, which right now are not particularly helpful. So I'm just going to jump straight into the settings of my profile and set up a few fields that are going to be really valuable for me to then filter through my projects when we start working at scale. And again, these are things that are going to be very custom to you. You've probably got an Excel spreadsheet that you're using to do this. And I would say translating the columns, each one of these, think of these as like a column in your Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to create a new workspace property, and I want to call this one status. And this top input type is really important. This is a place where I can choose the kind of data that I'm recording. So is it just a random text string? Is it a number? Is it a date field? Do I want to toggle true, false? Is it like a long form thing where I just want to put some notes? And again, it comes down to what's the purpose that we want. Select field is super helpful because we can effectively create and manage our own list of things. And so often, I'm not sure if you find this in Excel, but you might have like a status field and some of them are working, some of them you've misspelled as working or whatever. It's like data validation. So let's do this. We'll say I want to map competitive projects. I want to map interested projects, so projects I'm just right on the edge of thinking are interesting. Under contract, so we've actually got them under contract. Past, as in we didn't like it. And then the last one I might put is owned. If we end up buying one of these projects, then we want to have a visual representation of that. There's some extra options down here. I'm not going to touch any of that. We'll just say the description of this is what is the status of this deal. Okay, so that's going to create a new workspace property. Now let's create another workspace property, and we'll call this owner, name of current owner. And I just want this to be a text field, owner's name. You can see I can make these required or not. And then I want to add one more, which is owner's email. Okay, and again, this will just be a text field. We'll say owner@owner.com as an example. And then maybe we'll go next steps. And this will do as a long form text area. And so now I've got this cool database that I can start using on each of my projects. So let's go back to our space, our home space. You can see these fields will have started loading in. I'm going to save this space that we've made with all these customizations as my new home screen. So I'll go spaces, save as a new space. I'm just going to give it the boundary of downtown Orlando, and that'll do that. Now I go save again. I'll just call it home, create space, and we're done. So now that we've done that, whenever I come back to my portal, it's always going to look and feel how I've coordinated it. Now, I'm going to dive into this project really quickly because I want to show you how great it is to look at this project. And when you start to think about how powerful this portal is going to be over time, you can see I've got next steps, owner's email, owner status, etc. So let's go look at it. And when I click on it, you can see I can go, okay, well, we don't know the next steps or whatever, but we're just at the moment, this is a competitive project. So let's save that. Now it's popped up down here and I can filter by competitive projects. Let's open the project and dive into, look at its detail. And when I turn it all on, you can see all the modeling that I've done. You can see the math that I've done and the project feasibility. If we had done it, which we haven't at this point, I'll just throw in a template, would be there as well. So as you think about this interplay between your project level information, where we've been doing quite a lot of work over the last few weeks, and the market intelligence that we're building, it's really quite a powerful way to view and think about all of your projects in a market. And as we use this over the next 6 to 12 weeks, you're going to see a lot of really interesting projects pop up in and around Orlando and the feasibility on them as well. So thanks for your time and have a great Friday and a great weekend.